It's time for Mazz's Tears. I forgot. I should have teased it. But anyway, here we are. It's that time of the week. Mazz's Tears are brought to you by the Bernardi Automotive Group. When it comes to auto dealers, the Bernardi Automotive Group always finishes first with Mazz, top tier. That's because they sell and service Acura, Audi, Honda, Nissan, and Toyota, and Volvo. Bernardi for now, Bernardi for life. Visit them now at BernardiAutogroup.com in honor of Matthew Judon and Alex Cora. What is this week's topic, Mazz?
Okay, most notable contract stories in recent Boston sports history. Now, recent is defined as we're going to start in the late 70s, which I'll get to in a minute. But
recent is defined as how whatever we want.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Whatever fits the list I have for that particular week is really what it comes down to. So, yes, and you'll notice the way I said it was most notable contract stories in recent Boston sports history. 3 tiers, working up from the bottom, tier 3, tier 2, tier 1. And I will tell you that I had to stretch a little bit in some cases, and we try to make it timely. So we're going to start with tier 3, and let's jump right into it, Chase, too, if we could. Starting with tier 3, two candidates for tier 3. Jeremy Swayman. Not over yet. If it intensifies, it could get to tier 2 or tier 1, but they went to arbitration with him last year. Certainly the future of the franchise. They traded Linus Ullmark. This is a story worth watching. We're putting Jeremy Swayman on tier 3. Also on tier 3, Alex Cora. Now, had this deteriorated in some other way and it become more about the contract and some of the stuff we thought, like whatever, could have been higher. But the fact is that Cora is remaining as manager. So whatever it was that was going on has been resolved. I think the whole thing was a ruse from the very beginning, but it has been really the only story to talk about with the Red Sox for, call it, the last year or somewhere close to that. So to me right now, that is tier 3. Now, we're stopping there with those two because I think the rest of these, there's a reason I put some on tier 1 over others, but all of these were pretty notable stories. And Mike, you know what? Now that I think of it, I forgot one on tier 3 that you included in an email this morning.
Which was crowbar it in.
Okay, let's crowbar it in, even though it's not on the graphic. Joey Juneau with the Bruins back in the 80s for no other reason than, Mike, please share the anecdote.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, he, as a lot of these players used to do, said, well, I'm not going to take your offer. He says to Harry Sinden, I'm not going to take your offer. So I'm going to go play in Europe. We're going to play in Switzerland. And his agent made all this noise about he'll just go play in Switzerland. He's got a nice offer from a team in Switzerland, and that's what he's going to do. He's not going to take the Bruins offer. And Harry Sinden famously said, well, then start practicing your yodeling. Because you're not getting it from us. It's like, great, yeah. Start practicing your yodeling. Great classic Harry Sinden line.
Okay, so again, we went with the category of notable, which Joe Juneau qualifies for that. That's one of the great quotes by an executive in Boston sports history. Tier 2 now. Tier 2. I'm going to go right down from top to bottom on this list. Ty Law with the Patriots. Mike, you want to share the comment that Ty Law made about Bill Belichick back then?
Yep. The man's got to lie to feed his family.
Yep, man. Go ahead.
He said that about Bill Belichick. He has to lie to feed his family. And he came back for one more year and then was gone.
And there were a couple of flare-ups with Law about contracts, right? But that was the worst of the lot. One that we didn't mention on the email chain this morning, I think belongs on here, Deion Branch. I think Deion Branch was a big one. That was a sort of line of demarcation in some ways about how the Patriots were going to run their business. It's one of the first ones they really had.
He's on that,
along with Ty Law.
If he's on that 06 team, they win the Super Bowl that
year,
too.
They might.
This one also didn't come up, but I think it falls in under another topic, but it really should be mentioned on its own. Rob Gronkowski. Bill Belichick was ready to trade Rob Gronkowski. And I think some of it had to do over his contract, and there was some of a dispute there, so I'm going to include that. Wes Welker's contract was an ongoing issue with the Patriots that was notable at the time. Malcolm Butler was a big one. They brought in Stephon Gilmore to undermine Malcolm Butler. That one really caused a lot of problems in a lot of ways. Logan Mankins, another one. Tom Brady grew a beard in solidarity and support of Logan Mankins, although, Mike, that might have actually been around the trade, wasn't it?
I think it was after they traded him, but, back to the lying thing, Mankins called Kraft a liar in that one.
Feel free to interject, by the way, when I leave out details that
You got it.
Might have highlighted those negotiations because you covered those. Ray Bork. Bruins went to arbitration with Ray Bork. This could normally qualify as Tier 1. I'll tell you why I didn't put it in Tier 1. Because Bork stayed. I think the bigger ones are the ones that led to divorces or just major, major flare-ups over contracts. John Lester, Tier 2, only because it didn't get publicly acrimonious. Lester was not the kind to, lash out. But that, again, was a damaging negotiation to Larry Lucchino and to the Red Sox. Again, I remember the baseball ones a little bit more because I covered some of those. But I think that one deserves to be on the list somewhere. Now, Tier 1 is a special class. As usual, Boston has effed up its share of negotiations over the years, starting with Tom Brady.
Yep.
That was about the contract, largely. And, Mike, you pointed out many, many times, had the Patriots just given him the Drew Brees contract, Tom Brady may very well have never played another game or a game for another franchise. Carlton Fisk in the late 70s, this was a landmark one that you pointed out. I would have forgotten it. And when I say contract stories, the Red Sox forgot to postmark Carlton Fisk's contract before the deadline. And when he received the contract at home, he was not yet eligible for free agency. But when he got the contract at home, his wife saw that the postmark was on a day after the deadline. As a result, Fisk became a free agent and left the team. Mo Vaughn's contract negotiation with the Red Sox was one of the most acrimonious and downright vicious negotiations publicly that's ever been conducted.
It's not about the money, Dale.
Exactly. John Hanna and
stupid Boston sports.
Doesn't matter about the money, Dale.
And then he referred to the Red Sox in the front office as being like the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I remember that one.
Yeah. And wasn't Duquette hiring a private investigator to follow him around or something?
Oh, yeah, there was all that stuff going around. Very good. Very good. Yep, he did. They hired a private investigator to follow Mo when he left the ballpark. My guess is
they all went to the Foxy Lady
Bingo.
together. Yeah.
Yep. And my guess is the investigators dropped a few singles at the Foxy Lady as well.
Surprised they didn't go to the Dollar Tree store.
John Hanna and Leon Gray with the Patriots in the late 70s. This was a huge one.
Huge. It's 76.
Go.
1976. Great Patriots team. That was the team that lost on the Ben Dreith roughing the passer call on Sugar Bear Hamilton. They were the only team to beat the Raiders that year. Raiders went on to win the championship with one loss. It was to the Patriots. The Patriots went out to Oakland, had them beat. And Sam Bam Cunningham ran out of bounds on a short run instead of picking up a first down, and then Ben Dreith threw that flag on Sugar Bear Hamilton. They should have won that game in 76. They could have won the Super Bowl in 76. They come back in 77, and the Sullivans cheaped out on Hanna and Leon Gray, and they held out the first month of the season. They were never the same. And it turned the whole team around.
And those two guys were the entire left side of the offensive line, right? Gray was a left tackle, and Hanna was a left guard. Theo Epstein, I'm sorry, I think that was a massive one. Again, it wasn't entirely about the money. It was as much about the power, but it resulted in the resignation of Theo Epstein. It was as acrimonious a negotiation as you will ever see in Boston. One of the great feuds then generated out of that between Epstein and Larry Lucchino. And Roger Clemens, who frankly I could put on this list multiple times. At one point I had it Roger Clemens 1 and Roger Clemens 2. Clemens, after winning the Cy Young in 1986, held out, did not report to camp. And then ultimately they came to agreement on a new deal. He came back and won 20 games and won another Cy Young. But then again, when he left Boston, there was an acrimonious negotiation. Go ahead.
Wasn't there another one when Butch Hobson was a manager where he showed up late and wouldn't talk to him, or he ran laps around the field with the headphones on and wouldn't stop and talk to Butch Hobson or anyone? Wasn't there a weird thing there too?
Yes, and I just don't. I don't think that one had anything to do with a contract. No. I think it was just Clemens not showing up in support of his new manager. And I'll go back and check. You might be right, and if it is, we can add certainly that under the umbrella of the Clemens negotiations.
One
omission, so there you go.
One omission for me.
Yeah, go.
Vince Wilfork. And he ended up being made whole and was okay. But remember, he got hurt down in stupid Atlanta against the Falcons in 2013. It was an Achilles injury, and he was real bitchy that they weren't taking care of him. And then they made it right in 2014. But there was a period there where he was angry.
Murray, there are a lot from the Patriots that could have been on this
Yeah,
list
right.
and should be.
And this ties into the Judon thing. It's like, okay, so Judon yesterday is speaking his truth and just speaking about how he feels about his current situation. He's honest about it. And he's not taking anyone on. He's not taking anyone down. He's not ripping the organization. He's just telling you how it feels not to have a contract. He doesn't like it. He's not happy with it. And so it's all out in the open. Meanwhile, Belichick was so paranoid and sensitive about his guys saying something in the media that the guys wouldn't say it publicly. But behind the scenes, it's like, do you understand that pretty much every good player that came through there had some sort of battle and some sort of grievance with the Patriots over money and contracts?
Yep.
Not everyone. Like a guy like Devin McCourty, I think got paid and never really had to go through it. But I'd say 9 out of 10 guys, 90% of the players, including the best, were constantly at odds with the team over money. And Bill just wouldn't let him talk about it. So what's a healthier situation? Letting the guy just get something off his chest and, no harm, no foul, or letting all this stuff fester? Obviously, they still won at a high level despite all the festering. But I don't think people appreciate just how much money acrimony and contractual acrimony there was on that team those years. Like almost every good player went through it, from Seymour to Wilfork. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, Brady himself almost didn't get on the plane to Detroit in the preseason. Isn't that right, Stu?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there was like that, and that was around the time they almost traded. We were just talking about this. Like, even Brady,